Holy City Center Radio. It is episode 289, and I am your host, Christian Sanger. Today is Wednesday, August 28th, 2024. Welcome to Holy City Center Radio. It's Wednesday, as I mentioned in the intro. It's the middle of the week. It's already almost the weekend. Isn't that pretty great? I have a good show for you today to help you just get one step closer, a little bit quicker to that weekend. It's an interview episode. You know how these go. Nice chance for you all to relax, learn something about things that are going on locally, learn about a local person of interest. We got all of it for you in today's interview. You don't have to worry about any doom and gloom political news or anything like that today, because we're talking with Gary Flynn. He is the CEO and co-owner of Dumas and Sons. Even if you don't quite know the brand, you probably know the brand. It is a shop that has been on King Street since 1917. That's right. Now, they've bounced around King Street a few times, as you'll learn about in the interview, but it has always been located on King Street and have been in their current location since the early 1970s. So this is a long-time Charleston staple. Like I said, you may know the name. You might be a long-time dedicated shopper at the store, but there's a lot to learn, whether it's the past, present, or future of this business, because they are opening a new Dumas and Sons location across the bridge in Mount Pleasant, and that's happening next month. So if you didn't know that, now you do, and you're going to get some more details about it. So for those of you who don't want to make the trek downtown, you'll be able to visit them in Mount Pleasant. You may also be unaware that they have two other brands that they own and oversee: Johnny O, which is in the Charleston place, and Southern Tide, which is over in Mount Pleasant Town Center. Those are two of their other brands. So you may not have known that. I didn't going into this interview, but I did learn it. So I learned a lot. The history, of course, is always super impressive and interesting, especially a business that's been around for over a century. So it was interesting to hear just some of that background. But we do talk about what they're currently offering and what the plans are for that new location. So enjoy the interview. I think it's a good one. But then, I know I always do. But truly, we've got some great people in town. And anytime I talk to any interview I've ever had, I'm always impressed with the person, the topic, and the information. So I think you will be as well. So without any further rambling from me, let's get in to the interview with Gary Flynn, the CEO and co-owner of Dumas and Sons. And as promised, joining me now is Gary Flynn. So excited to talk to him today. Gary, thank you so much for joining me.
I'm happy to. Thank you for having me in today. I appreciate it.
Of course. So, you are the CEO and co-owner of Dumas and Sons, which, if you spend any time in Charleston, you're familiar with the brand, I'm sure. And we'll talk a little bit about it, for those who don't know the history. We'll also talk about some fun and exciting things that are coming up for the company. But before we do any of that, I like to, anytime I have a guest on, just have them, tell me and the listeners, of course, a little bit about themselves, any background that you feel like sharing, whether you're from here, moved here, how you got involved in the company, anything you think is important, just so people kind of get an idea of who you are.
Yeah, great. Thanks. So I've been with Dumas now a little over 8 years, and I have spent my entire career in better men's retailing. I started my career with Nordstrom and was there for 27 years and kind of ran through the gamut there, from sales all the way through to leading a merchandising division for the whole company. And then from there, I spent a number of years with Hugo Boss, working in New York in the New York headquarters, being in charge of retail merchandising for North America and South America. And then I ended up in Charleston working with Dumas. Funny little bit of an interesting story there that David Dumas, the store is now 107 years old. It's third generation. David Dumas is the surviving Dumas family member. That's my partner in the business. But unfortunately, David has lost his eyesight. And so to do this business, you kind of got to be able to, see the floor and see the customers and see the product and all that. Yeah. And, I can't imagine anything happening to me that would be worse than that. With
Yo,
what I
I hear you.
do. So my heart broke and went out to him saying, like, he's the last Dumas in the family. If he can't get a good partner to move forward with, they might have to close the operation down. And David really didn't want to do that to his family legacy on his watch and all of that. So thankfully, I landed here and have been helping out for the last 8 years, moving us forward. So that's kind of my background.
Very cool. And yeah, I think that'll certainly help people just kind of get an idea of who you are as a person before we kind of talk about, what you do for work. And you mentioned that the company is 107 years old, which is amazing that companies can hang around, for that long. This has been a staple in the community for over a century. And you talked a little bit about the history, but anything else regarding the history of the company that you
Sure.
feel is interesting or important?
Yeah, thank you. So it's been on King Street the whole time, but this is actually our third physical location on King Street. And we moved into the building that we're in now in 1973. Prior to us moving into it, those that have been in Charleston for a long time might remember Haverty's Furniture Store. That's
Hmm.
what was in our location before we moved into it. So back then, the Dumas family bought the building that we're in, and we've been operating out of it since 1973. About 20 years ago, there was another men's store right next door to us called AJ Davis, and they were in the more the suit type business. And M. Dumas and Sons has always been more on the casual side of things. It's we've reinvented ourselves a bunch of times over the last 107 years, but it mostly has been in the casual sportswear world. We've did outdoor world wear before. We've done waders. We've done cowboy boots. We've done we were a big Levi resource at one point. Through the 40s during the war, we outfitted the Navy. We used to slap on company logos on their dickies for local gas stations and other local businesses like exterminators or whatever else that might want to have a uniform. So we've done all of those sorts of things. But like I said a second ago, 20 years ago or so, A.J. Davis went away, and David Dumas at the time said, okay, we're getting into the suit business. And so they leased the other side of the building and opened up some walkways in between and almost doubled the size of the store and got into the tailored clothing business overnight. And so since then, we've been honing our game on the tailored clothing side. And that's one of the big focuses I've had since I moved into town 8 years ago, was to really be as well known in that world as we are in the casual sportswear world.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't realize, that there had been so many changes like that over the years. I mean, I assume there was obviously going to be some as fashions change and things, but I didn't realize, it would go from, being a little bit more casual and, like you said, like providing things for people's work uniforms all the way to, suits and tailoring and things. It's quite the evolution, although I'm assuming, sort of stayed in that same wheelhouse of just men's fashion in general, of course.
Correct. Yeah. And I like to think of it as evolution, not revolution, right? We're not reinventing the wheel here, but we are, we're evolving, and we want to we want to be as relevant today as we ever have been in the last 107 years. So we're constantly out in the marketplace looking for new things, looking for new brands, looking for new categories, looking for new experiences for our customers. We want you to come into our store every time you come into the store and experience something new that you hadn't seen before. And yet, another thing that we try to get across to people when they walk through the doors is we mean business when it comes to product. We have a lot of product. And we almost want to hit you in the forehead with it when you walk through the door. It's like, oh my God, look at all the stuff in this place. And the next thought we want you to have is, well, if I can't find it here, I probably can't find it anywhere. And that's ideally how we want you to feel when you're there. Is like, this is a one-stop shop for me. I don't have to go to 15 different stores on King Street to get everything I want. That's all underneath one roof right here.
Speaking for myself, but I think a lot of people in general, but men, especially when it comes to fashion, I feel like stores, when you hear of a store like yours, and there's some others that do, somewhat similar things to what you guys are doing and it can seem a little intimidating to, am I going to walk in there and, if I have no idea what I'm doing, is someone going to be helpful? Are they going to look down on me? So can you speak to that for the people who are just worried that, I don't really know fashion and I'm
Yeah.
afraid if I go in there, it's intimidating.
Yeah. I mean, to me, the whole experience is about the one-on-one interaction you have, salesperson to customer.
Mm,
And, it's not about the clothes that we carry. It's really about that relationship. And it's about trust. And it's about us listening and understanding what the need is and understanding what kind of the price threshold is and understanding how to solve the problem. That's how I look at it. It's like we're in the concierge business. We're in the problem solving business. It just so happens that we sell clothes. But you've got a wedding to go to and you haven't worn a suit in 10 years and you gotta look right. It's your daughter's wedding or whatever. It's you're getting back on the interview scene and you haven't done that for a while. What's the right thing to be wearing now? Or I'm new to Charleston. But where should we go to dinner? Like, all of
mm.
those things we want to have good answers for when they come in the store. And it's the atmosphere is hugely important. We want the right music playing. We want a happy up atmosphere. We'll slap a beer in your hand if you want, or a scotch if you want. Or if it's hot outside and you just want to sit down and have a cold water, we'll give you that too. We've got really great restrooms, and people know that, and they come into our store just for the restrooms, and hopefully we get them to stumble on something while they're in the store. So we really want that. We want to be proud of the product that we carry and know that we carry the highest quality stuff, but we don't want to come across stuffy or ostentatious in any way. And that's a struggle. When you're selling a sport coat that's $10,000 to somebody, he's used to being treated one way, and then you're selling a pair of duck head pants at $99 to somebody else, and he wants to be treated the way he wants to be treated. So you really got to read the room and read the customer and understand what their needs are, and then hopefully come across as I'm here to help. And that should hopefully diffuse any of that. Gosh, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't feel comfortable doing this. We want to solve that problem for you.
That's great to hear, and I thought that was probably going to be the case, but I know people would still be thinking it if I didn't ask. So it's great to
Sure.
know, and I'm sure over the years that the business itself, as it's been passed down, and different workers have been there, and then your own personal experience, I'm sure you've been able to figure out the balance of figuring out how each individual customer wants to be treated, and being able to adjust, whether it's a pitch or just trying to help them find what's best for them. It's become easier over time, I'm sure.
Yeah, I know one of the things I always want our team to be thinking through is, sometimes, again, like you said earlier, we have a lot of product in that store and that can be overwhelming. And so
Hmm.
it's our job to narrow in on what is right for someone, and really our job to say, you know what, no, I understand why you're drawn to that item, but that's not the right fit for you, or it's not the right
Mm.
fabric for what you're looking for. And telling people no kind of lends a little bit of credibility to what you're doing, because most salespeople only say yes, 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 yes. You want that,
Right,
right? I
right.
want you to have this. This is going to be great on you. Well, that's not always the case. Like sometimes you're like, you know what, this is too trim for you. This is not the right product for you. We need to get you in something that's more appropriate for you. And customers really appreciate that approach.
So, having a business that's been around for over a century, you've talked about how it evolves and things change, whether it's fashions or approaches and what the community wants. But in addition to that, you're also expanding outside of
Yeah,
King Street.
that's
That's some
right.
exciting news. Can you tell us more about the new location that you have coming to Mount Pleasant?
Yeah, I'd love to. So yeah, this will be the very first second Dumas store that we've ever opened. We do have two other stores that we've opened over the last 5 years, but there are other branded stores. So you may or may not know it, but there's a Southern Tide store in Town Center that we own and operate. There's
Hmm.
a Johnny O store in Charleston Place downtown that we opened last September that we own and operate. But this is going to be the first M. Dumas and Sons store outside of King Street, and you're right, it's in Town Center in Mount Pleasant, and we're super excited about it. Me living in Mount Pleasant, and I live kind of in North Mount Pleasant. I live out in Park West. I drive by Town Center every day on my way downtown, and I drive by it every day on my way home. And I know my neighbors, and I know how infrequently they go downtown and how much they see it as a chore to go downtown. There's
Right.
parking to deal with, and there's tourists, and it's expensive, and the bridge traffic, and blah. It's almost overwhelming sometimes. So downtown for a lot of Mount Pleasant people and surrounding areas is a kind of a special event. You're going down for a special anniversary dinner, and while you're downtown, you're going to do a few things, or you might be doing coming, staying downtown for the weekend. But that day in, day out shopping, they don't want to come downtown for it. And so I said, well, let's bring it to you then. Let's bring Dumas to you, and that's what we're trying to do here. So we're
And
looking to open September 13th is our opening day. So we're less than a month away from it now, and I'm sitting in that store right now, having this interview with you and this chat with you, and we're knee deep in boxes and product and fixtures, and trying to get it all put together so that we're ready to open.
Nice. Yeah, I assumed it's crunch time now. Opening next month, just getting everything together, and I'm sure it's going to look great and come together for you all. What are, besides what maybe people have come to expect already from M. Dumas and Sons if they've visited downtown? Is there anything different? You've mentioned obviously you don't have to travel downtown, better
Sure.
parking. Anything
Yep.
different with the store, or is it pretty much going to be mostly the same that people are used to?
Well, this is a delicate balance here because we don't want to disappoint anybody when they come.
Hmm.
They're used to shopping in almost a 10,000 square foot store with tons and tons of product when they're going to come into a 4,000 square foot store, and so there's 6,000 square feet of product that's not going to be in this store. So we don't want to disappoint them, and yet. I do think that there's opportunities for us to do a better job in this store than we are able to do downtown. We don't do a great job of storytelling downtown because of how much volume we do and how much product we sell. We have to kind of stack it high and watch it fly in a lot of cases. And here, we're really going to try to romance it a little bit more and really show you how to wear things and be a little bit more educational and really show you the look that the brand wants you to have from head to toe. And that we don't do that much downtown because we don't have the space or the fixturing that's appropriate to do that, and here we will. So I try to straddle that line between we're 107 years old, and yes, it's the old Dumas. I love this. Oh my God, it's amazing, and yet we want it to come across as a new approach and modern too. So that's the challenge that I've given to myself, and I think we're on the right path to doing that. Hopefully, the customer will come in and tell me what they think.
Oh, I'm sure it's going to go great, based on just the fact that you've got experience and the store's been around and clientele here already kind of understands the brand. So I'm sure it's going to go great. And I'm sure people, especially in the Mount Pleasant area, are going to be very excited to not have to travel downtown, especially if they're further out, like you said. But that's not to say that switching, adding a new location means that downtown's going to become stale or anything. I believe you've got some
No.
new things coming up, including, is it a women's brand launch? I think I was reading.
Yeah, we've been doing business with a brand named Filson. You may know them or not, I'm not sure, but Filson is also a over 100-year-old company,
Mm.
and they're based in Seattle, Washington, and they kind of grew up through the gold rush and providing clothing for people to go outdoors in and go hunt for gold and go hunting and go fishing and all of that. And so that we've been a partner of theirs for a lot of years, and they're broaching into the women's apparel part of things, and so we're going to be launching with them next month. Women's Filson. So we carry some women's barber in the store now, and we carry some women's items in the shoe department. But this will be our first foray into women's with Filson. So yeah, we've got that going on downtown, and mostly. If you're still looking for an amazing sport coat selection or a suit or something custom like that, or something super luxury like some of the Italian brands that we carry, we're going to continue to carry that downtown, but not out in Mount Pleasant. Mount Pleasant's going to be a little bit more casual sportswear driven. We'll have a couple of sport coats and a couple suits here or there, but that's not the story here. So we really do want the downtown store to be the exciting, fun place to go for the luxury part of things that we're doing, as well as all the other things we do. But so that's a good point on your part. Is yeah, we don't want to forget about downtown because
Right.
that's our baby right there. That's my first child, so to speak. So I want to make sure it's thriving and doing great too. And I think having each have its own kind of point of view, I think will help us be successful in both locations.
And, we've talked a lot about here in this short time about the history, what's coming up, what to expect. Is there anything we haven't touched on, that I didn't ask you, whether it's something new that you're working on, something that recently launched, just anything we haven't talked about that you want to let people know about right now?
I think the only other thing we kind of alluded to it was just in general the team, and how much that team means to me, and how much the people in the store are the secret sauce of M. Dumas and Sons. And it's not about me, and it's not about me doing these interviews, and it's not my face in the newspaper or anything of that. It's where the rubber meets the road. It's Colin, who's been there for 20 years on the floor selling, or it's Clark, who's got amazing connections with his upstate customers that he used to live in the upstate, and now he's here, and he's got this great collection of customers that he's brought to the store. And we've got a great team top to bottom, and hopefully we have somebody that matches up great with whoever the customer is that walks in the door. And it's all about that customer and that salesperson relationship. And you'd mentioned in our little chat before this interview about the other stores on King Street. There's a lot of great stores on King Street. There's a ton of great, amazing shops to go shop in. But ideally, we want to win over customers with that relationship piece. I know we've got the best product in the store, but I really want to just have the best team in the store. And I just, I'm hoping every one of my team members hears this, because this is truly how I feel, and they know it because I talk to them about it all the time. But they're the real heroes in this story.
And for those listening who want to get more information, whether it's about the downtown location, Mount Pleasant, both, just any information they're seeking, what are the best places for them to do that, besides, of course, just stopping in the stores?
Sure, yeah. Any of the 3 stores that are open now can give you information about the 4th store that's getting ready to open. mdumasandsons.com is a great place to go to check out not only what we're doing, but kind of the new brands in the store, and the events that are happening. And then you can always reach out to me at the store. My office is in the downtown store, and I'm available anytime to have a chat, or give a person a tour, or connect somebody with a salesperson, or do help someone myself. So those are probably our best resources.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me today. I learned a lot about the history and what's coming up, and I really appreciate you taking the time to let my listeners know as well.
Yeah, thanks for the time. I really appreciate it.
And that'll do it for this edition of Holy City Center Radio. Thank you so much for listening. We'll have some news for you on Friday as we get back to a normal episode, a non-interview episode. So I'll get you caught up on the latest. But don't worry, nothing too crazy going on as of this recording that you're missing out on. But I will certainly have some updates for you on Friday. Thanks for listening. If you can, like, subscribe, rate, review, all those things. Anything you can do on a streaming platform you're listening on, please do so. Also, thank you to Lindsay Marie Collins for producing this and every episode of Holy City Center Radio. And a big thank you to Tyler Boone, whose music you hear in each and every show. Have a great rest of your week, and I will talk to you on Friday. Until then, good night and good luck.